Let's start with the first question. It would be about the Russian narrative currently after more than 1.5 years of the war in Ukraine. So how do you perceive the Russian narrative when it comes to the official political elites, but also when it comes to civil society and the people in Russia?
The official narrative is, of course, that Russia will come out victorious out of that all the troubles just make Russia stronger. But the question is the reality check on these claims, because on every claim that is made officially, you can do the analysis of the economic troubles, of the societal troubles, the burden that every other day of war creates, not just for one side, but for two sides. And you can come to a conclusion that, of course, the idea that there are no big troubles and things are developing in the right direction, it is greatly exaggerated, to put it mildly.
But in a matter of fact, the Ukrainians didn't succeed in their counteroffensive this summer as they were expected to succeed. So maybe also the Russian position is changing in favor to the Russian military in Ukraine, or would you say it's otherwise?
This war is not easy to anyone, and I think it is probably the most dramatic and pivotal development in international politics, or at least in regional politics, in the last 30 years or even more. So we all have issues related to this war, even in countries that are not engaging in the fight directly. You have business, you have people who probably had contacts, relatives, partners in the countries that are at war with each other that suffer in this way or another. And of course, those who are engaging on the battlefield, they suffer way more. And the trouble is that there's no political solution on offer. There is no even a sign on either side that a political solution under the current conditions, when each side is kind of dissatisfied with the current situation, it would be desired, and that means more and more suffering, more and more casualties. So this is, of course, something that can be sold as sort of the period of suffering that then will result in a better future for this or that side. But eventually people do get are tired of this burden, and I think this is also true for the Russian side, even if the situation on the ground doesn't change that much. You will not have people just feeling, okay, now the situation is not changing against us, so we can be like that indefinitely. Everyone has their own limits, and this also concerns the Russian public support for the government.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, maybe the question would be, Russia and Europe and the European Union need to cooperate also in the future. There cannot be any guarantee for a European security architecture which is proven to be good without Russia or without the European Union for Russia. So how do you see after the war, when the time comes, the Russia-EU relations?
Yeah, it's very hard to draw a positive perspective for this relationship at the point, because the issue at the core of troubles, beyond all the horrors of war, is the territorial question. So basically you have an EU candidate country, Ukraine, that wants to restore its territorial integrity, and Russia that disagrees to the extent that this is already deeply embedded in the Russian legislation, that parts of Ukrainian territories are considered Russian, and whether you can find any kind of compromise is not evident even for the best experts in the field. And if this continues to be like that, you continue this territorial dispute for decades, that will be sort of a natural break on any positive relationship between Russia and the European Union. And this would mean reduced economic cooperation, which is already the case. The EU managed to reduce economic ties to Russia to the minimum, and will probably continue efforts in this direction. And on the Russian side, you see sort of foreign policy reorientation and the claims made that the West should not be that important for Russia as it used to be in the past decades, that Russia should rather work with other parts of the world. Again, this has to go through a certain reality check, because partnerships with other countries, they do not substitute the West in economic terms, in terms of political partner, but this is an attempt made by Russian politicians to elaborate foreign policy that will work for these new circumstances. They add it, they invest in it, and it will be important check whether this will only be the case under the current Russian leadership, or even with the change of leadership that comes sooner or later, even if this takes years, whether this will be the case still that the Russian elites will not see an opportunity to reconcile with the West and will use the tension to ensure that people in Russia rally around the flag and support of the government in the confrontation with the West. This long-term new Cold War would be to the detriment of everybody, but the chances that it can happen are currently higher than almost miraculous opportunity of somehow getting the EU-Russia relationship on track back.